one of the two, Memorial Day. And so we have a table handing out our information, doing education and outreach to all the tourists that come to Yellowstone National Park in those months. When we get back, starting the beginning of November, they've now implemented a lottery hunt, which basically the state of Montana can just put, you can enter one as a resident. You can also enter it as an out-of-state resident. The only positive thing that has happened in the hunt is because they're so greedy and want everyone to kill as many as they can, they started to get the Native Americans involved in the issue. But the beautiful thing about this is that bringing the Native Americans in, they brought them in through the recognition of 3 different reservations' treaty rights. And so what they're basically doing is inviting them to come take part. And the natives have taken part because by taking part, it makes that the federal government and the state government have recognized these treaties as having collateral. And all the treaties basically state, and this isn't verbatim, but they say as long as the buffalo roam, the tribes still have the right to do this. And so 3 years ago, and this is insanity. This is the insanity these poor sacred animals are going through. We had an estimated herd population of about 4,500. They shipped 1,600 of these animals directly to slaughter without testing any of them, just shipped them to slaughterhouses. And this is the management plan for these sacred, unique, genetically special animals that we have left. And so 2 years ago, 1 buffalo was shot in the hunt. Last year, a total of 6 were shot in the hunt. And obviously, that's not going to feed 3 reservations. That's not going to. So by them seeing and recognizing these treaty rights, they can say, well, look, your management tactics are making sure we'll never be able to live off buffalo again. And this is the beginning of the buffalo issue getting taken back by the First Nations, which is part of our mission statement and something that we're strongly involved in. Another thing that I think is real important to understand is that the governing body of this slaughter operation is called the Interagency Bison Management Group, and it has a member of all those 5 groups I told to you, but they also now have brought on each one of the treaty tribes onto this council. They're ironically, as you might have guessed, non-voting members, but for the first time in 13 years when I go to these boring-ass meetings, I finally heard people that are talking positive about buffalo and worried about their concerns of longevity, whereas in the past decade plus, all we've ever heard about are these holy cow and their interests. So it's a bright day, and it's taken time to get there, but you know, finally, someone that has reverence and respect for these animals and wants them to repopulate America is involved and involved heavily with the decision making. So it's a good day in that way. The other thing that happens after the hunt is over, the migrations, I told you about how they did this mass slaughter. Well, they capture them in capture facilities. They put them on 18-wheeler cattle trucks and will haul them up to, they've been taken as far as 500 miles to slaughterhouses. Once again, this is all done with our taxpayer dollars. Even though the state of Montana is calling all the shots of this $3 to $5 million annually, the state of Montana is paying less than $2,000 of that. The rest is all our taxpayer funds that are funding this whole operation. And the last thing that I'm going to talk to you before I show you this video is when they set up Yellowstone National Park, like 10 years later, they finally came out with the National Forest. And they understood that Yellowstone National Park is a high elevation plateau that traditionally gets some of the biggest snowfall in the lower 48 states. It's not very good year-round habitat for all the ungulate species, the grass-eating, hoof-bearing animals. And they need to migrate down to lower elevations. So when we started the national park system, we bordered Yellowstone with 7 different national parks that were originally earmarked for wildlife buffer zones. Well, now we have prioritized, as we all know in this room more than probably a lot of people, timber harvest, mining rights, public lands grazing, anything but what they were originally earmarked for. And you know, here again is the whole hidden agenda of the slaughter, is this public lands grazing. The state of Montana calls these buffalo an animal in need of disease control. It's not even deemed wildlife in our state because they don't want to give up the grass on these national forests for their cows. Basically, any rancher that owns these grazing allotments can actually put a cow and a calf pair out on our land and pay $1.33 a month. That same price on private land is anywhere from $15 to $20 a month. So you can see the significant savings if you have a herd of 1,000 cows out on our national forest. And obviously, those of us, some of our friends from Western Watershed Project who have been kicking ass getting the West given back and getting cattle off our land, can tell you that the cows are made where their hoofs are shaped as such, they're clove-like, and they compact the soil, and they stay and overgraze an area, and then they move an inch and eat the rest because they're not native. They don't know how to browse and move and retill the soil. Where those same buffalo, there's an elder in our community, his name is Jesse Stovall. He died a couple years ago at 92, and he used to go, "The buffalo are the fastest moving slow animal I ever seen in my life." And what he meant by that is that buffalo don't stay in overgrazed areas. You'll see them come through, they'll eat the grasses, spill the seeds, their hoofs are shaped as such that they retill the soil. Then you have the magic fertilizer out the back end, and you got a perfect regeneration process. And we'll see these same herds come through the same areas year after year for a week or two, because they know they'll have replanted the grass and that there'll be food there for them next year. So now when they come out to these national forests, these public lands, when the Department of Livestock and the agencies are going to do something nice, they do what is called hazing. And essentially, they will take these animals that just survived a Montana winter, right in spring, and run them at full speed, 7 to 10 miles, with helicopters, ATVs, snowmobiles, horses, 4x4 trucks, basically anything but their feet. And these are moms that are just about to give birth or babies that have just been born, and this is their introduction to life, thanks to us, the taxpayers. It's not real gruesome, this piece I'm going to show you at 6.5 minutes, but it shows you what's going on.
Springtime in Montana. It's buffalo calving season in Yellowstone. Their instincts point them in the direction of fresh green grass to ensure their next generation's survival. Each year they wander outside the Yellowstone National Park boundaries into the West Yellowstone region. They are then subject to a taxpayer-funded management program consisting of hazing them back into the park. The introduction of life for these buffalo calves is a 15-mile haze in one day. The hazing starts at Denny Creek, 7 miles outside of Yellowstone Park. In natural situations, bison take care of each other. Under extreme conditions, they react differently. The hazing operations not only affect bison, but the entire ecosystem.